Hi there. I was trying to go live on Facebook in the group today, and instead of me taking over Facebook in this group, I feel like Facebook took over me because it was not being cooperative. So I hope you're able to watch this link and that this helps. I am Christy Bilbrey. I'm a marketing and story strategist. I am the LCF ambassador for this week, and I am here to help you guys connect with your audiences more deeply through stories. So that's what I'm covering all this week. And for those of you who might be wondering why I have so much on my plate, why do I need to stop and start focusing on personal stories in my business? I want to ask you this. For those of you, like whoever you follow online or wherever, why do you follow those people? I want you to really think about it, because I have a feeling, consciously or subconsciously, that it probably falls into these three categories. It's probably includes various amounts of these three categories. Probably they're fun. Probably they give you some sort of helpful tips on your business or whatever it is that you go to them for. And I have a feeling the third component is they provide a little piece of escapism to how you wished your business or your personal life looked. So that just draws you in, and it makes you immerse yourself into whatever they are sharing, even if it's just for a few moments a day or a week. It doesn't have to take up a lot of your time, but it's something that you enjoy going back to over and over again. So I want you to know that didn't happen by accident. That was planned, and you can absolutely do the same thing in your industry with your niche. So that is what we are going to be talking about today. You do this by sharing snippets of your story, both professional and personal, and weaving that into your content. But it can't just be any story, right? It needs to be engaging, because that's what you pay attention to. So that's what your audience is going to pay attention to. And today we're going to talk about, regardless of what your business is, regardless of who your audience is, there is one very special story type that every audience loves to follow and check out. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to share why do I care so much about story? Why I actually completely shifted my marketing strategy business to focus heavily on personal stories with my one-on-one clients and a lot of the content that I do. So here's what happened. I don't know how many of you saw my live that I did on Tuesday, but I kind of go into my background, 10 years as a marketer and the corporate side. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who came from a corporate background or even from an educational training where you're taught essentially to be professional and to leave the personal stuff at home. So today's business landscape has changed dramatically, even from a few years ago. And whether it's big brands or small influencers, mom and pop shops, whoever shares the most stories with their audience wins. So what does that look like? Well, it wasn't very, it's becoming much more, we just expect it, right? So we know that. We don't necessarily always know how to do that, but we know that is expected. Well, when I was first starting my business a few years back, it wasn't so clear cut. So if I'm being totally honest with you, I really struggled, even as a marketer, a professional marketer, I really struggled with my messaging once I went full-time in my business, because I had to expand beyond people who already knew me or knew of me through, friends of mine, whoever was recommending me. And I had to go to strangers, and I had to convince these people first to take me seriously as a business owner, even though I was new. And second, I didn't want to be overly salesy and scare them off. And third, I wanted to become a friend, someone that they were interested in spending time with, because if they aren't interested in spending time with me at all, they're probably not going to want to do business with me. I saw this even when I lived in LA. I worked at the headquarters of a global law firm, some of the top employment lawyers in the world. And despite their credentials, their Ivy League education, all their big corporate wins, if they were not out establishing relationships with their clients, they would lose them to the other firms who were. So it doesn't matter, you guys, it doesn't matter what your background is, how successful you've been, if you're not continuing to develop that relationship, even online with your audience, they can slip away. Well, that was not clear to me. I didn't understand how that worked. So for me, it was like this complete tug of war. Well, how do I act professionally and not be super salesy, but also help them get to know me as a person? So I felt like when I'd go to these events that I would kind of be one of those three. I would either show my professional self, or I would show my like soft sales approach, or I would be my personal self and not end up, you know, doing what I needed to do there professionally. So it was it was agonizing, and I got so sick of it. It was like this internal, I was just off balance internally, like, well, what am I supposed to do? What is this supposed to look like? And I remember coming home in tears and telling my husband, Russell, I don't think I'm cut out for this. And this wasn't, just to give you some perspective, this wasn't no big deal. Like, in addition to the fact that it felt really embarrassing because everybody I knew that I was going for this venture, but this was something that I had wanted since I was a little girl, because my parents both had their own businesses. I grew up wanting to have my own business. So this was like watching a lifelong dream slowly breaking apart right in front of my face and feeling completely helpless, all because I couldn't get my messaging straight. And without having messaging straight, how are you going to keep getting more clients? So I knew this was serious, but I told my husband, and he would not let me give up on my business. So I'm like, all right, after a lot of pity parties, I was like, all right, how do I figure this out? Who knows how to do this? So I looked at influencers online who I followed. I looked at who else does story well, authors, screenwriters, and I looked at just entrepreneurs, different brands who had built their brand on their story. I'm like, all right, there's got to be some similarities between here that I can just boil down to essentials for my business. And there were. And I created my own system for this. And I actually ended up packaging it into an online course to help other business owners called Stories That Convert. That goes really in depth. But today, I want to share with you what is something that you can start implementing immediately in your business that every audience loves to check out. So if you haven't figured out yet what story type this is, it's behind the scenes stories. And this is great because it works for any business and any audience. So let's think about this. You have seen this in a ton of places, whether that's in person, on TV, online, in magazines, whatever, blogs. So let's talk about in person. What about going on tours places? So that could be wineries, going to a winery where they take you and you watch the process of how everything comes together. Well, now at the end, they're going to give you an order form. And if they're selling $50 bottles of wine, it's not going to be as big a push because you have much more of an appreciation of what goes into it and the value. Maybe that's the Jack Daniel's distillery. Maybe that's the lavender fields. I know these essential oils companies, they bring people who are doing well in their business to check out and see the process from in the ground all the way through the distillery till it is bottled and ready to go. We love this. We love watching this. Think about field trips growing up. There's all that. Okay, let's look at the making of movies. There's always these behind the scenes red carpet events. backstage at a concert. It always enhances any experience and shows more value when you walk someone through. It doesn't even have to be the entire process, but just little snippets, because it's like a little tease. It's exciting, it's interesting. They feel like they get to see what not everybody gets to see. It makes them excited for what's coming next. And so this is really, really great. And here are different ways that you can start thinking about this for your business. Maybe you have a launch coming up. Maybe you're going to go to a big conference, a show, and you want to start getting some pieces put together. Maybe there's people who you know will be attending that, who you have access to, and you can start to drip out like, here's what you can expect to find. People who are event planners. This is great to show how you source locations, or here's what's happening at this location. Here's the beginning. Here's what's going to happen. Here's some little gifts. Here's what the food is going to look like. Here's what some of the floral is going to look like. Just dropping little snippets can get people excited about the main event. Maybe you're in floral, and maybe you show places where you source some of your flowers from, who those people are, some of the fields where they're grown, some of, testing out different types of arrangements, how it comes together, instead of just showing the final product, showing some of that work that's involved along the way can be really, really interesting for your audience and make them want to come back and see more and more. Let's see. So those are a few examples. Now let's talk about, okay, so there's the TV show. I don't know if you guys have seen the TV show, how it's made. It's been on air for over 20 years, and you can still find it on YouTube. And it's everything from like how a steering wheel is made to, I don't know, something real like computer chips and probably potato chips, like everything you can think of is in there. And we love to see how things come together. So start thinking about in your business, whether you have a product or a service. I'm service-based, but I can walk people through little snippets of my process so they know not just, okay, here's the end result of crafting someone's brand story or, their about page or their big presentation from a stage, selling from a stage, and the story that goes into that. Let's dissect little pieces that go into that to make people say, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I never would have thought to approach it that way, or I didn't know all those different things were involved. So it shows your value instead of you trying to defend your value and say, these people have no idea how hard I work. No, make it fun and interesting. This is such a great way. Where can you do this? You can do this in your Instagram feed, showing a series of photos. You can do this in your Instagram stories. You can do this with Facebook Live. You can do this with YouTube. You can use your phone to record it. I mean, this does not have to be difficult or overly technical, but get creative, have fun with it, and think about different places in your business and different times that you can incorporate it, and your audience is going to love this. So that is the bulk of it. And my course goes into this much more in depth, but I at least wanted to give you guys enough to get you started, get your creative juices flowing so that you can get this going in your business. And I actually have a free guide that walks you through how to brainstorm more ideas for stories that are going to resonate with your audience. So I'm going to add that to the comments below this post. So make sure that you grab that. And if you have any questions about, well, here's my type of business and here's what I do, how could I use this? Or I'm thinking about this idea, what do you have that could be helpful for me? Then please feel free to add anything to the comments. I would love to help. This is one of my favorite pieces of what I do with one-on-one clients. So please feel free to jump in, and I'm happy to help you. Grab the freebie, and don't forget to stay tuned for the rest of this week for more story tips. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for checking this out, and have a great day.